And so we started talking about it in class, and he happened to have been working with a couple students in the class hypnotherapeutically. Wow, that's a long word. Using hypnotherapy with them for some emotional issues they were dealing with. So he was using it for therapy. And he asked them if they would be willing to be part of a little experiment. And both of them, one's name was Paulina and the other's name was Judy. And they said, oh, sure, well, whatever. And so the first person, he said, okay, Paulina, would you mind doing this with me? Well, before that, let me go back a little. Imagine for a second, I don't have two chairs available, but he said, all right, I need the strongest person in the class. You know, and immediately we all looked at Rick. Rick was, you know, easily the strongest guy in the class. He was he was a fullback, you know, and he was just a huge guy, not very bright, but he was an incredibly strong guy. And he said, all right, Rick, what we want you to do is we want you to put your heels on this chair and put your shoulders and head on this chair, suspended, you know, in between, and we were going to time him to see how long he could stay like this, only horizontal. Can you see that?
So like planking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like planking, only without any, only on his back. Okay? But nothing in between. Takes a little bit of strength there. And so we timed him, so we got, all right, Rick, let's see it. And so we watched him do it, and he goes, all right, he was all tough. And he did it for 15 seconds, and he started to buckle. That's all he could do it, was 15 seconds. And then he said, all right, so Paulina, who happened to be the smallest girl in that particular class, she was just this tiny, she didn't even know where the weight room was. She was the smallest person. I'm sure she never did a single ab workout of any kind. And he said, can you be Paulina for a second? You don't have to do anything. But, so he said, Paulina, 1, 2, 3, and snapped his fingers, and Paulina immediately went, like, you know, you see him do.
Is that easy?
Yeah. He just went 1, 2, 3, and he said, all right, Paulina, can you hear what I'm saying? Yes. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. And then, because she was conscious, but totally relaxed. And then he said, okay, when I count to 3 and snap my fingers, your body will become a steel beam. It will be impossible to bend your body. There's no way that your body can be bent. He kept saying that over and over to her. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. And so and then he said, okay, 1, 2, 3, snapped his fingers, and she just put her hands here, and she was just like this. And then a couple of us picked her up and put her there where Rick was. We started timing. She was there for a minute. And it was like a hole-in-one. It was the most miraculous thing. I couldn't believe that she could possibly do that, but she just stayed there. Didn't even flinch. Now, she was in pain for days afterwards. But in that moment, she was doing an absolutely impossible thing for Paulina to do. And I just went, holy cow. I couldn't believe it. And then she said to Paulina, so let's pretend, or Judy, if you be Judy for a second. And I knew Judy really well. She was a really close friend of mine, lived just around the corner from me. And she was one of these people who would never draw any attention to herself. She was quite quiet and just a calm person in general. And he said, all right, Judy, 1, 2, 3, and he snapped his fingers, and she again, you know, she collapsed on the floor. Are you okay, Judy? Yes. And then he said to her, okay, when I count to 3 and snap my fingers, when you open your eyes, you will notice that nobody has a body. all you will be able to see are heads. Okay? And do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. And so he said 1, 2, 3, snapped his fingers, and she opened her eyes and and then she looked around. She started getting really just amazed. What the heck? And she went, "Mr. Ward, what's wrong, Judy?" "I don't know. I don't see it." And so we all started getting up and walking. And she just freaked out. Her face went white as a sheet, and she ran behind this desk, and she was like, "Mr. Ward, what's going on? What's wrong, Judy?" "I don't know, but nobody has a head. Nobody has a body." And then some kid started jumping on a table, and she was screaming at the top of her lungs. And people came down the hall. "Is everything okay in here?" You know? And we all, "Yeah, it's fine." But and she didn't crack a smile or anything. I mean, there's no way that she, under normal situations, would have not, how do I say this? She would have given in. Yeah, she would have dropped the character, or however you say that. She wouldn't have pulled that off. And it was at that point when I said, something is going on in our minds that when you're under hypnosis that I have to find out about.